It's been a really wonderful 3 days here so far, and I'm just really appreciative of everyone being here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more broadly as to the theme of this session, reclaiming our strength and reclaiming our love. And in part inspired by a lot of the dialogue that we've had here, especially last night at the town hall meeting. And I guess I want to just make sort of 3 broad points, and at least speaking from my own experiences, say where I think we are, and at least some of the stuff I think that we need to reclaim. I remember when I was in, I guess it would have been 7th grade, and I grew up in Syracuse, New York. And I had gone to a school of 500 students, 40 black kids, and so on the hill. And I wanted to go to a junior high school because it had a great dance program. And it was mostly black, and I had not been in a mostly black environment. And when my first 3 months at school, there was this guy, The Rock, who used to chase me home every day and, just pushed me around. And one day took ink and smeared around my face and said, you're just not black enough. And I went home and I was crying and everything, and I told my mother. And she was like, well, why are you in here? And I was like, well, what? And she said, get the fuck out there and push back. And so, which I did. And Rock was a little bit shocked, but he also became a really good friend over time. So, and I say that because, one of the presentations that Jamal, I think, gave this morning about the challenges that a lot of young black gay men have. And whether it's coming out to their families and being kicked out of their homes and losing financial support, or there are other struggles. And in the moment, you feel very vulnerable. But then you learn to get out in the world and push back.
Right.
And I think in the fact that most of us are here in this room is evidence of pushing back. And our communities have that strength. And I think just as my mother recognized who she had raised, we have to be very clear about who we're a part of. And I think that sometimes we don't give our community credit for having more strength than it does. The other thing is, we hear a lot of conversation at these meetings about what the white boys do, what they have, and how well organized, and et cetera. And we live in a country where privilege has been largely based on race. We know that wealth in the world is largely based on it, as well as nationality. Sometimes it doesn't seem it to us, but we're part of the 10% that owns 80% of the world's wealth. And we're part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that for 2 reasons. One, I think that we have to move away from so much thinking about what the people next door have, and really thinking about what we have. And I think that a conversation that is about what white people have isn't a particularly beneficial conversation. It's certainly something that I was raised around. I mean, yes, we were told, yes, you have to twice hard, you have to be focused, you have to be dedicated, but you are as good. And I think that sometimes when we're having that conversation, it doesn't acknowledge we are as good. Or that there have been people, particularly within the HIV context, such as Craig Harris, or Reggie Williams, or Phil Wilson, or the people in this room who helped create these programs and who've been running things. We have a tremendous challenge in our community around the rate of infection. But we need to be really clear. We don't have a tremendous challenge in our community around skill. We have a challenge around the application of that skill.
Yes, correct.
And having the resources to implement it. And so we need to be really, I think, focused on that. And then the last thing I really want to talk about is law. To be able to move forward, it will take all of us working together. No matter where we come from, geography, gender. I mean, I think it's one of the things that MBGMAC has taught us, and the BGRG, that we can work together, we can work to know each other, we can make progress together. But I think in doing that, we also have to have some fundamental respect for our differences. And that, and I think it's important to make sure that as we're having conversations, that we don't have unintended conversations. And by that I mean that we want to respect young people because they are essential to our future. But we also want to respect old people because they are essential to our history and who we are. I would never disrespect my grandmother. First of all, the day I do that, it's over. And so, and part of that is, while I respect my siblings, my cousin, and everything, we give all honor to her, our final remaining grandparent. Now, I'm fortunate, I grew up knowing most of my great-grandparents. And so, the men who are 60, 70, and 80 in the room, they've been through so much. And we have a deep obligation to be there until they take their last breath. I'm 48, looking at what it will be to be 50, having tested positive at 21. I can't wait for 50 and 60 and 70. And so I think that that's really important. And then lastly, though, as we're on the journey, we will explore our faith, we will explore our beliefs, but I also want to be very, very clear. I am a gay man. And what that means is that I have sex with other men. There is an undercurrent of moralism that is creeping into our community about sex that undermines our ability to have an appropriate, as Dr. Simmons would say, concept of ourselves in our place in society. It dirtifies it. We can have protective, wonderful, joyous sex with each other. But we don't get it twisted. It is not about not having sex with each other. It is not. And so, in fabulous sex, if you're not interested in the sex, I don't understand what the prevention part is about. You're not going to get it eating fried chicken and drinking sweet tea. It is about helping people have sex. And in some cases, do their drugs. And so I just want to be really clear that reclaiming our law is also about a sense of justice in the world, that people deserve to be at peace with themselves, not only in terms of their culture, their identity, and their race, but their sexuality. That it is a good, that it is a divine gift, and that this is how we want to live our lives. That's what we want to reclaim. And so I'm just really glad to be here with everyone, and I look forward to the time we continue to spend with each other.